I love the sports that I was able to cover. I mean, like when I was at the Super Bowl or being able to broadcast that or interview those guys, I didn't think, I'd like to be at the Olympics. And then when I was at the Olympics, I didn't sit here and say, really, we really should be at the NBA Finals. No, I enjoyed each of them and all of those moments. And I recognize that nothing is forever. So this is all temporary. So I better enjoy this now, because what's a kid from Denver who grew up on Hudson Street actually doing here with these guys and actually being able to talk to them?
What's up, Nation? It's your boy, Baron Davis, and this is Raiders Talk of the Nation. And I'm here with a legend, the legend of sports, the voice of sports, Mr. Jim Gray.
What's up, Baron?
Tell me about the Hall of Excellence.
Well, it's appropriate that we're on the Raiders show with the Raider Nation, because the Hall of Excellence is named because of Al Davis. And Al was a dear friend of mine and my wife and a mentor. And we spent a lot of time together.
Yeah.
Particularly in Los Angeles, where we both lived. Al wanted to build a Raiders Hall of Fame. And we were having dinner one night, and he kept talking about this Hall of Fame and where would he put it in Los Angeles. And I said, you said commitment to excellence. So the name of your museum and your Hall of Fame should be the Hall of Excellence.
Amazing.
And Al said, wow, that's pretty good, Jimmy. And he never got around to it. So when Tom and I decided to do this, we embarked on this about 8 years ago. I said, Tom, we should put all of this memorabilia together and let the people come and view it and inspire and educate and entertain everybody and let them see it all. And we should call it the Hall of Excellence. Tom said, I like that. So here we are. And it's because of Al.
We are standing in the trophy room. Charles Woodson, one of my favorite Raiders of all time. Here's the Heisman. I mean, this is amazing.
Well, what we tried to do here is have a trophy for everything that's competed for in life. Okay. And put it here in our trophy room. And called Charles, and Charles was a teammate, obviously, of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And they obviously share the history of the Tuck Rule. And the Raiders were robbed on that, and Tom was born.
Yes.
And so the Heisman Trophy is the symbol of excellence for college football. And so I said to Charles, would you please allow us to display this? And he said yes right away. And so we're grateful to Charles. But, when you look at this, if you go back to all of the great players in college football and the significance of this, and, Charles represents that.
When you come into this space, the energy and just being a part of history, right? And then the actual learning of the history and being able to capture that. So thank you.
They take a left right there. That's what the Raiders are chasing. And they have 3 of them over there in their headquarters.
Yeah, we do.
Over in Henderson. They got 3 of those Lombardis.
Yeah, we got to get our net. We got to get our
got 3 of them. Looking for 4.
Number 4 coming.
There we go.
Jim Gray has been a maverick in his field. He's captured the imagination of fans all over the world and gave credibility to his organizations that he worked for.
Talk about your relationship with Al. Give us that story of, being in LA, right? Having, plans, wishes, and dreams, the Super Bowl. I'd love to hear about that time.
Well, you couldn't have a better friend than Al. And Al was a very loyal guy. And he had thousands of acts of kindness. But Al was particularly interested in the youth, young players, and giving young people an opportunity. So when he saw something that he liked and he gravitated toward, he became interested. I met Al, obviously, when I was working for ESPN in Los Angeles. And the comment that he originally made to me was, I like the fact that you're fair. You're just really fair. And there's an honor in that. And I appreciate that. And I never forgot that.
Yeah.
And I think he was particularly talking about his move there and how he had been villainized, become a villain by the National Football League, simply because he wanted to have a better opportunity for his team in a better market. And that's what he had done. And he took him on and he won the case. So we just became friends over the course of time, and he introduced and opened so many doors for me.
Yeah.
And he allowed me on the inside, and he trusted me to have information and see the thought process and to learn so much.
Yeah.
With Al, he was guarded. But if he trusted you,
You'd open up.
He opened up everything. And so, it was a blessing. And Mrs. Davis, Carol Davis, just terrific. And Mark. I mean, Mark's got so many great qualities from his parents.
Yep.
And, it's been an honor to have been able to be around them and to view the games and to see, to sit with Al during a game, you would just hear and see so much and learn so much. And he was so competitive and wanted to win so bad. I just can hear his words. The fire that burns brightest in this organization is the will to win and the commitment to excellence and just win, baby. And he would see things that even when they were good, he could see something that could cause somebody else to improve. It's been a great association and wonderful friendship, and I'm feel very lucky for it.
You carry the torch, and the flame will burn brightly, and I know that you'll represent us all. And today, Jim Gray becomes the standard of excellence by which all people in his field will be measured from years to come.
You are a part of, the Los Angeles Super Bowl. What did that feel like?
The Coliseum was electric. I mean, it was filled up with 90,000 people. And the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum is one of the great historic buildings in our nation's history. They've had 2 Olympics there. Now it's coming again, in 28. They'll play a big part. And the flame that burns there and that torch, kind of emblematic not only of those Olympics, but of what Al always talks about. And now the torch that is here in the Legion Stadium,
is very
similar.
Yeah.
At least in its thought process that gets lit every week before Raider games and for big events. When you went into that Coliseum and you could just see those guys and see Coach Flores, and I can still see Jim Plunkett and, all of the great Raiders who played back on those teams. It was a special time in Los Angeles because they captured that community, and it was big. And, all the fans from Oakland obviously hurt and upset that the team had moved, but they loved the Raiders. So they still wanted to see the team succeed.
Absolutely.
And it was, and that's kind of when Showtime was coming in with the Lakers.
Oh, wow.
And,
okay, yeah.
So it was just a magical time there. And the Dodgers already, had a stranglehold on the community.
Yeah.
But the Raiders not only came and fit in, they took over.
They took over. I remember.
They took it over.
I was a young kid, and that just kind of like blew the whole city, up as far as like people were Raider fans, but the Los Angeles Raiders had, it had that ring to it, right? It had that ring to it, and they automatically came in and like became that next great third, the third team, Dodgers, Lakers, Raiders. Then it was like, oh, Raiders, everybody's a football fan.
Plus Marcus Allen playing in the Coliseum with USC, and now he's playing in the Coliseum for the Raiders. And then, no one will ever forget that run in the Super Bowl.
Your legacy, your career, all of the greats that, you've interviewed, all the great athletes, the great people, the relationships you have. Talk about how do you develop that level of trust with, these incredible personalities?
Well, the time that I grew up was much, much different. Obviously, there was no cell phones, no social media, no immediate impact on an instant moment, and so forth. So it was a whole different thing. So we had proximity that isn't necessarily available now. Well, that was the first interview I ever did, and it was by a total accident. And
how was that an accident?
Well, I was a videotape editor. They were converting from film to videotape in 1978, so all the union guys took the buyout. So I was a 17-year-old, 18-year-old young man who had his first job for ABC in Denver, and he was coming to fight Lyle Alzado. First, he was going to fight Leon Spinks, then Alzado in an exhibition in Mile High Stadium. So he was 2.5 hours early at the airport. So I was in editing the Broncos with the Red Miller Show, and they said, go interview Muhammad Ali, sports. And so I went out there to Stapleton International Airport. He spoke to me for 45 minutes. My first question, he said to me, you're doing this interview, you don't even shave. After about the third or fourth question, he said, you sound like the local Howard Cosell. I'd never done an interview before, and that was the nicest compliment I'd ever had in my life. He gave me 45 minutes. I took it back to the station, was editing myself out because they weren't going to put me on TV, and the head of the bureau walked in, a man named Roger Ogden. And He watched it for an hour and a half because he was mesmerized, not with me, but with Ali.
With Ali, yeah.
Because of who Ali was and so forth. So he got up out of his chair and he said, Jim, you and this interview are going on television. It's barely adequate. I never forgot that. Barely adequate. So when I got into the Boxing Hall of Fame and when I got into the Basketball Hall of Fame, I said somehow barely adequate ended up here. But Ali opened up all those doors because he had left, and nobody had cell phones back then. Nobody had texting. Nobody had beeper. Nobody had anything. Yeah. So when they couldn't find anybody else to do the interview, it was because they didn't have all this technology. So he was in Houston and he saw the interview. And so he then wanted that to be able to continue so he could, brought me along to do a bunch of interviews. And then Julius Erving, when I got to Philadelphia, Julius opened all the doors. And, when you're good with Julius back in the early 80s and you're showing up with him, well, then you're good with Moses Malone and you're good with Kareem and you're good with even Bird, who doesn't, and then you're good with Magic. If he's good with Julius and Ali's talking to him on a frequent basis, then,
Yeah.
So Julius was just sensational. And I saw how he treated people and that he had time for everyone.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter whether it was the chairman of the board or the janitor. He had the requisite 5 minutes. And he looked him in the eye and he was genuinely interested. And I thought, wow, seeing that with Ali, seeing that with Julius, that there's something much more important than the story. The relationship is what matters here. The connection.
Yeah.
Getting the wisdom. Trying to understand that. And I always felt that every question was fair as long as it happened on the field of play or on the court. And then off the field, I wasn't interested in that. Now, if off the field spilled into and affected your play on the field, then it was fair game.
Right.
But all the rest of that stuff, that wasn't interesting to me.
Yeah.
That didn't mean anything. It mattered whether you could play and how you played. And so, there was a private life that we kept private.
Yeah.
And there was a personal life that was personal.
Yes.
But if it affected the game, then it was okay.
Absolutely.
So the relationship, Baron, I interviewed you a number of times.
Yeah.
We didn't have a close relationship, but, liked you and obviously appreciated your talent. But it was much more important to me to have that than the headline. And so I think it served me well, and I'm happy with that decision.
I mean, you are a storytelling almanac when it comes to, just the history of sports, the history of our country. And where did you love spending the most time? Was it football? Was it boxing? Was it basketball? I know, talking to the GOATs is one thing, but, where did you kind of feel like, this is going to take me to other places?
Well, it's not cliche, but I've really enjoyed it all. Like when I was at the Super Bowl or being able to broadcast that or interview those guys, I didn't think, I'd like to be at the Olympics. And then when I was at the Olympics, I didn't sit here and say, really, we really should be at the NBA Finals. No, I enjoyed each of them and all of those moments. And I recognize that nothing is forever. So this is all temporary. So I better enjoy this now, because what's a kid from Denver who grew up on Hudson Street actually doing here with these guys and actually being able to talk to them? I love the sports that I was able to cover. I mean, I got to spend 23 years with my dad at Augusta National. And he kept score for me up there on the tower when we were doing the radio broadcasts. So that was wonderful. And the people there were just fantastic. And we looked forward to that week because it was the only week we really spent together.
Oh, wow.
Just he and I, without my brothers or my mother or any friends or anything. So that was special. So I always kind of hold that place in high regard and close to my heart. But I mean, I loved the NBA Finals. I mean, we got to do all of Michael Jordan's, his final game, when he beat Russell with that shot, and to see Kobe. I knew Kobe from when he was three weeks old.
Game.
3 weeks old.
Yeah.
Until his unfortunate passing. So, and being able to spend time with him and see what that became and how he achieved so much and the imprint that he left. And so it's hard to nail down and say just one. I got, if I wasn't in sports, I got to interview the last 11 presidents of the United States.
Amazing.
President Mandela and Mikhail Gorbachev.
Yeah.
So it's all been a whirlwind, and it's all been a heck of a lot more. If I'd have written something down on paper or had a goal, I long ago exceeded it. I got just so fortunate. So it's hard to just kind of pinpoint one.
Yeah. No, I feel
I should mention Mike Tyson too. Mike Tyson.
Tyson was great.
And very important in my career, and somebody who I deeply respect and love.
You're a big gem in Raider Nation history. Tell us about what's your hopes, expectations, the relationship with Mark, also the relationship with Tom Brady, and what do you see for the future of the Raiders, just kind of knowing who they are as people and who they are as competitors.
Well, Al used to always say the greatness of the Raiders is in its future. And I truly believe that with Mark and with Tom. And being with Tom has been one of the great joys of my life. So I've been partners with him for the past 15 years. We do a radio show together for a number of years called Let's Go. And on Monday Night Football in the pregame. And we've done 800 interviews.
Wow.
So I know Tom quite well. And let me just say this, Barron. Tom Brady is a better human being than he ever was a quarterback.
Yep.
Think about that. Okay.
It's amazing.
This is a jewel of a man.
Yeah.
And he's just terrific. And he's obviously the most accomplished football player in the history of the National Football League with 7 Super Bowl championships. And everybody can talk about this one's coming and that one's coming. Let's see when they get to 7. 7 is a long, long way. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is wonderful. He's great. He's at 3. So, I mean, there's a lot of great talents. But so I believe in exactly what Al said. The future is very, very bright, and there's going to be struggles, and there's going to be growing pains, and it hasn't been what they've wanted for some time, okay? And these things do take time. And I keep coming back to it, but I'm going to quote Al again. Al would say to me repeatedly after every season, Jimmy, it's a vicious struggle to be number one. One team wins, and the other 31 are looking for answers. So do you think it's any different in any of these other cities?
Right.
There's one team that wins. And then he augmented it many years ago. So we can augment it now with the current champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. He augmented, he says. You think they're not looking for answers now? 6 weeks through the season, 7 weeks through the season, 8 weeks through the season? They're looking right now too, and they're the champions, okay? So it continues to evolve. It changes very quickly. What's relevant now will be irrelevant in 10 minutes next week. It's a week-to-week thing. And so I believe that the Raiders, in this market here in Las Vegas, they will capture the imagination of everybody. It's a great place to be. The stadium is spectacular. The facility is great. And they'll attract the great players here. And they will win again. I can't give you the crystal ball as to when, but the future is very bright.
The relationship with Mark Davis. So bringing that moment, bringing that family legacy moment. I've seen you on the sidelines with Mark, at the games. Talk about him and, you saying, for the Raiders, like our best is yet to come in the future. And, we talked about Brady. I love to hear like your point of view for the nation on Mark.
Mark's really smart. And Mark he's very kind. He's very generous. He's very approachable.
Yes.
And Mark knows what's going on here. Look at the Aces. The Aces have won 3 championships. It's hard to win in anything.
It's hard to
win in anything.
It's so hard.
And WNBA is about the most competitive thing you're going to see. Look at how these women excel and achieve. And so that team was 14-14 at one point this year, 500. And then they rattled off however many they won in a row and then won the championship. Okay, so again, things change quickly, and it's the 3rd time that they've won the championship. And you can come here to the Hall of Excellence, and you can see Asia Wilson, and you can see the trophy right here in the front, and you can see 2 of Mark's 3 rings. The 3rd one hasn't been made yet. Hopefully we'll get that one here. So Mark has been around sports his whole life. I love that Mark cares so much about the people and the alumni and the way he treats them. And Mark, it's a well-known story. Mark represented Cliff Branch, who was his best friend, against his father. So Mark cares about the players. He cares deeply, deeply about the players and the people in his organization. And he's philanthropic. He contributes and helps so many people in the communities where he has been. And he does it without expecting anything in return.
Tyler.
So you've got a wonderful guy here. I know he wants to win. it's killing him. He wants to win so bad, and he sits there every day, every Sunday, trying to figure out how to get there. And I'm quite certain he will.
I definitely think
He will hold
know
that
he
trophy. I believe it. And he's been great to me and to my wife, a friend, and I love him. And, we'll do anything we can to support him.
In sports, everything is about energy. Everything is about, goodwill, good intention. And, it starts at the top. And if the person at the top is generous, caring, like being around this organization and see the way that they take care of their players, but they take care of the alumni and they take care of the staff, it's bubbling greatness and good energy, right? And that is just that is going to be, I think, the future that, and that he's building and establishing here with the Raiders.
And that's so important in life. That's so important in life. Those things you just mentioned. How do you treat other folks? And look at how he treats other folks, and he's just who he is. And he's not trying to be something other than who he is. And you know what? He's comfortable with Mark. And everybody should be comfortable with Mark because there's so much to admire.
So much good. Yeah, it's so much good, Mr.
And respect.
I saw in the Hall of Excellence the last plane ticket where Coach, the legend, the great John Madden. Talk about John Madden. That's wild because I only know Madden from the Madden bus. And then, the documentary finally, he stopped playing. Like, talk about Madden and, just having a relationship with Coach Madden, John Madden, the great, and, what he meant to football as well as the Raiders.
John was a dear friend, and I love that John and Virginia and Mike and Joe, his two kids. They're just great, great people. And John and I were very close in the 80s, and we were playing golf one day, and I had taken a job, my first job. I was leaving ESPN to go to NBC, and they wanted me to move to New York City.
Oh, wow.
So I had to move to New York City, and I didn't, I was out in Los Angeles, come from Colorado, been in Philadelphia before, but I was thinking, wow, I got to go get a place in New York. So John and I were playing golf, and he said, you just stay at my place at the Dakota. He lived at the Dakota on 72nd and Central Park West, a place where John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and unfortunately where John Lennon had lost his wife, a very famous, great place. So I was like the guy who came for dinner and never left. Some 5 or 6 years later, I was still staying there, and I left NBC and went to CBS, and John worked at CBS. And so John was traveling around on the bus and so forth. So he was rarely there, but he would come, when he had East Coast games, he would stay in New York and base out of that and then drive to Washington or Philadelphia or up to Boston, wherever the game was. John was a genius. He was a genius, and he could put things into terms that, just resonate with you forever. I mean, some of the things that he would say to me, like we would go into one of these restaurants in New York where they would be hanging all of the Angus and all of the stuff. And he'd say, Gray, what's the difference between aged beef and old meat? I mean, but he just had a thought process that was, it was funny. And, so got to share a lot of time and a lot of meals. And I just loved John. And John cared about the people. We would ride on the Madden Cruiser, and he would know the people, in all these states, off the interstate.
Yeah.
And he'd stop and, he'd say, I hope that Connie is still here. And then he'd go in there and Connie would be in the restaurant and he'd talk to Connie for an hour. Or he'd go sit on the bench. He loved the Ritz-Carlton in Chicago. Because if you remember, the Bears were good in the 80s. Yeah. And he loved to go sit on the bench at the Ritz-Carlton and just watch the people come in and go back and forth. And, and then he also loved Caesar's Palace here. John was a huge fight fan. John owned all of the closed circuit television for fights for Northern California.
Oh, wow.
For the theaters. So John would come on Tuesdays for the fights on Saturdays. Okay, and he'd do CBS Sports Spectacular, and he would we used to sit on this bench and just watch everybody over at Caesar's Palace come in and out of the pool. And he was a huge, huge fight fan. And up until, the last months of his life, he would still text me and say, how's Canelo going to do tonight? What about Floyd? And so on and so forth. But he loved boxing, and he loved Las Vegas. He loved to come here. He loved, the shows, and he wasn't a gambler. John didn't gamble at all. I never saw John didn't bet on anything, but he liked the food and he loved the big fights. So John was a terrific guy, and look at the imprint that he left. Obviously a great coach. One of the, the first coach to win 100 games with the best percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Was a great broadcaster, the greatest analyst ever in the history of television. I don't know what he won, 22, 23 individual Emmys as sports analyst and personality. And he left a lasting impact with the Madden game, which kids don't even know. It's like Jordan. You talk about Michael Jordan, and if you didn't see The Last Dance, or you're not watching him on NBC now, their thoughts of him are his shoes. And so Madden has the game. So Madden lives forever. And but he was great in all those areas, and he was a real estate genius, and he was a people genius. And I love, Mike Madden has given us the plane ticket and the All Madden team, first All Madden team sweatshirt, and then the trophy and John's first Emmy. So we honor John here. We love John, and we love the Madden family and the Hall of Excellence. You got something for something for everybody in here.
The Hall of Excellence. If there was a day bed or something that you can just lay down and like sleep and experience this energy. I mean, the storytelling, the memorabilia, from the aces, John Madden, Babe Ruth,
Al Davis,
football
that he signed for the AFL, and the ring from the Raiders, the Raiders championship, Mark Davis's championship ring.
Yeah,
it's
a
been a joy
place
to be able to put this together. It took us a long time, and we're proud of it and happy about it, and we just want everybody to come in and enjoy it.
Well, you got our support. The nation will be here. We'll be telling people about it. I'll be coming back myself, as I feel like I just, I need to sit with the pieces and, be a part of this, this time pass. So it's like, it is a storytelling revolution.
I got to thank the Raiders and the Aces and Mark Davis and Larry Delson and Matt Delson and Sandra and everybody who's helped us spread the word and had tremendous support. And we appreciate it, and we love them for it.
Thank you for letting me be a part of, the storytelling.
Thank you for coming and doing this, Baron. It's always good to see you.
Hall of
You're asking the questions. It's a little bit of role reversal here. What happened here?
I need some notes, man. You got to get me right.
You did great. Kept it easy, fun.
There you have it, Raider Nation. The legend. We're in the Hall of Excellence. It's the almanac of sports history. Thank you for building this. Thank you for having us. Thank you for being a part of our show.
Thank you, Bear. Appreciate you. Thank you. Let's go, Raiders.
Let's go, Raiders!
I told Tom he should do a documentary because we'd go up there to Yellowstone, and he would throw the ball to a bunch of us. Look, my wife would always say, Jimmy, why are you doing your hands? My hands literally were swollen for, we'd do this for a few days, and your hands would be swollen for a month.
Crazy, yeah.
You want A, B, or C? And he said, I won't throw you A passes. So he'd always say, well, I'm just throwing you C passes.